Introduction of the couple scene in The Day Her Marriage Died. Innate kitchen. Morning sunlight filters through the curtains. The kitchen is warm and inviting. A soft instrumental track plays in the background. The camera pans across a neat breakfast table, 2 coffee mugs, toast, and scrambled eggs. A hand reaches out to pour coffee. Narrator, VO. They looked perfect from the outside. Sarah and Adil, married for 7 years. A picture of stability, trust, and routine. Sarah, early 30s, elegant and composed, moves gracefully around the kitchen, preparing breakfast. She hums softly. Adil, mid-30s, charming and confident, walks in adjusting his tie. He kisses her on the cheek. Adil, smiling, "Smells great. You're spoiling me again." Sarah, teasing, "One of us has to keep this household running." They laugh. There's an ease between them, a practiced rhythm. Narrator, VO. They had their rituals: morning coffee, evening walks, Sunday movie nights. People admired them, even envied them, but no one saw what they chose to hide, not even themselves. Cut to Inti bedroom. Earlier that morning, Sarah makes the bed, glancing at a framed photo on the nightstand, a wedding picture. She smiles faintly, but there's a flicker of sadness in her eyes. Narrator, VO. Sarah believed in love, the kind that stayed, even when it faltered. She built her world around Adil, trusting that one day he'd notice all the little things she did just to keep them together. Cut to Inti living room. Evening before Adil scrolls through his phone, distracted. Sarah sits nearby, excitedly showing him something on her laptop. "Sarah, look, this resort's offering a couple's weekend retreat. I thought maybe..." Adil, not looking up. Yeah, sounds nice. Let's see later." Sarah closes the laptop quietly. Narrator, VO. He wasn't cruel, just distant. Slowly, silently, their connection was unraveling, thread by invisible thread. Cut back to Inte kitchen, back to present. Adil picks up his briefcase. "Adil, I'll be home late. Meeting with the new clients." Sarah nods. "Don't forget to eat something." Adil, "You worry too much." He kisses her forehead absent-mindedly and walks out. The door shuts with a soft click. Sarah stands still. The coffee machine gurgles in the background. Narrator, VO. To the world, they were a team. But every smile, every gesture was rehearsed. A performance they both forgot how to believe in. Camera lingers on Sarah's face as her smile fades. Fade out. Cracks begin to show, continuing from the introduction. Inti living room, evening. The TV plays in the background. Sarah and Adil sit on opposite ends of the sofa. A sitcom laugh track echoes, but neither of them is laughing. Adil is on his phone, scrolling. Sarah glances at him, then back at the screen. "Sarah, did you talk to Ami today? She called me. She's worried about you." Adil, still scrolling. "I'll call her later." Pause. Sarah, "You said that yesterday too." Adil doesn't respond. The tension simmers quietly. Sarah turns off the TV with the remote. "Sarah, do you even listen when I talk?" Adil, looking up. "Of course I do. What's with the interrogation?" Sarah, interrupting, frustrated. "It's not an interrogation, Adil. It's a conversation. Something we haven't had in weeks." A beat of silence. Adil exhales and rubs his temple. Adil, "I'm tired, Sarah. Work's been hectic. Can we not do this now?" Narrator, VO. And just like that, the door between them shut a little more. Words, unspoken, hung in the air, heavy as silence. Inti, dining room. Night. Dinner is served. Candlelight flickers, casting shadows on their faces. Sarah has gone out of her way. A home-cooked 3-course meal. Adil eats mechanically, not noticing. Sarah, "Do you like it?" Adil, "Yeah, it's good." She waits for more. Nothing comes. Sarah, "You didn't notice the table setting, did you?" Adil, confused. "Should I have?" SARA, small hurt smile. Never mind. Narrator, VO. She'd once dreamed of candlelit dinners, long talks, and laughter echoing in their home. Instead, she got empty plates and emptier silences. Int bedroom. Later that night, Sarah lies in bed, awake. Adil is asleep next to her, facing away. She reaches out slowly, hesitating, then pulls her hand back. Her eyes fill with quiet tears. Narrator, VO. Love didn't die all at once. It faded, minute by minute, word by forgotten word, and in its place grew silence and doubt. In Teen Kitchen. Next morning, Sarah flips through an old photo album while sipping her coffee. Laughter in photos, Adil with his arm around her, smiles wide and easy. She touches the picture softly. Narrator, VO. She searched for traces of the man she married, the warmth, the tenderness, but all she found were echoes and questions she was too afraid to ask. The front door opens. Adil rushes in, already on a call. Adil, on phone. Yeah, I'm on my way, just grabbing my file. No, she won't mind. She's used to it. Sarah hears. Her expression hardens, just for a second. Then, like always, she swallows it. Fade out. Unexpected discovery. ENT. Study, evening. Sarah is tidying Adil's study. Papers are scattered. A laptop sits open but idle. She hesitates before organizing his desk. A sticky note falls from a folder. It's a reminder. Dinner, 7 p.m., SM. Sarah frowns, curious. She opens the folder. Inside, receipts for expensive dinners, a jewelry invoice, and a hotel reservation, none of which she knows about. Narrator, VO. It started with a single note, a scribble, harmless on its own, until the pattern became undeniable. Sarah clicks the laptop. It's unlocked. She opens the email tab. Insert. Screen view. An open email thread, from Adil to someone named Sana Malik. The subject. Last night was unforgettable. Sarah clicks it open. Her breath catches. Email text, VO. You looked amazing. I still taste the wine on your lips. I wish I could stop time when I'm with you. Sarah freezes. Her hand trembles over the trackpad. She stares at the words, unable to blink. Int bathroom. Moments later, Sarah splashes cold water on her face. Her reflection in the mirror is pale, stunned. She grips the sink tightly. Narrator, VO. She wasn't prepared for this. Not the betrayal, not the lies, not from him. Flashbacks flicker, their wedding vows, his promises, all the little moments she'd held sacred. Int, bedroom, night. Sarah sits silently on the bed, her phone in hand, email open again. She zooms in on the photo attachment, Adil, smiling across a dinner table, leaning in close to a woman whose face is barely visible. Narrator, VO. In that moment, something inside her broke, not with a crash, but with a soft, silent snap, the kind that echoes for a lifetime. Adil enters, loosened tie, briefcase in hand. Adil. Hey, you're still up? Sarah doesn't answer. She just looks at him, her face unreadable. Adil. Everything okay? Sarah. Where were you tonight? Adil, slightly defensive. I told you, late meeting. Why? Sarah slowly turns the phone toward him. His expression falters. Adil. Where did you get that? Sarah. Silence. Tell me who she is. He opens his mouth, then closes it. The truth is already there, unspoken. Adil. It's not what it looks like. Sarah. Then what is it? A heavy silence. Adil looks away. Narrator, VO. And in that silence, the truth screamed louder than words ever could. Int. Kitchen. Later, Sarah sits alone, staring at the untouched tea in front of her. The world feels quiet, unfamiliar. Narrator, VO. She'd imagined heartbreak as thunder, dramatic, loud, but it came like a whisper, soft enough to miss. Unless it's your heart that's breaking. Fade out. Confrontation. A powerful emotional turning point in about. And. Living room. Next day, evening. The air is thick with silence. Sarah sits on the couch, hands folded tightly in her lap. Adil enters, hesitating as he sees her. His eyes flick to her expression, Calm, too calm. Sarah, we need to talk. Adil nods slowly, removing his coat and sitting opposite her. There's a long pause. Sarah slides a printed copy of the email across the table. Sarah. No more lies, Adil. Adil stares at it. He doesn't pick it up. His jaw tightens. Adil, I didn't mean for it to happen. Sarah, voice trembling but firm. But it did. And not just once. Months of dinners, messages, feelings. That doesn't just happen, Adil. His silence is answer enough. Sarah, was it love, or just something to feel alive again? Adil sighs. I don't know. Maybe I felt seen, wanted. Sarah, voice rising. Seen? I gave you everything, Adil. Years of my life, my trust. You were everything to me, and I became invisible to you. Adil looks away, ashamed. Sarah's eyes well with tears, but she doesn't let them fall. Sarah, what did I do wrong? Adil, quietly. Nothing. You are amazing. It wasn't about you. Sarah, then why wasn't I enough, Adil? Because I'm weak. Because I didn't have the courage to fix what was broken between us. It was easier to escape than face you, or myself. Sarah stands, pacing now, her energy building. Sarah. So you chose her over us? Adil. No, Sarah, I didn't choose. I just drifted. And by the time I realized what I'd done, I couldn't find my way back. She stops, eyes burning. Sarah, you left me long before you touched her. I was holding this marriage alone, while you were slipping away with every silent dinner, every missed conversation, every lie. Narrator, V.O. Pain doesn't always come from hatred. Sometimes it's born from the people who once swore they'd never hurt you. Silence again. Raw, heavy. Sarah, quietly. Do you love her? Adil opens his mouth, closes it. That silence says everything. Sarah's expression hardens. A quiet strength begins to surface beneath her heartbreak. Sarah, then go. Be with her, but don't come back here asking for the pieces you broke. Adil, Sarah, please. SAR a number. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Adil stands, stunned. He takes a step toward her, but she steps back. A final barrier between them. Narrator, VO. It wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the death of illusion and the birth of truth. Fade to black. Flashbacks of love, a reflective and emotional contrast. Interior bedroom, night. Sarah sits alone on the bed, lights dim. A soft breeze moves the curtains. She holds a photo album, fingers trembling as she turns the pages. Her eyes glisten. The soundtrack fades in, slow, nostalgic. Narrator, VO. Before the silence, before the betrayal, there was love. Real, messy, beautiful love, and for a time, it was everything. Flashback, XT, beach, day, 5 years ago. Sarah and Adil run barefoot along the shoreline, laughing like children. She stumbles, and he catches her. Their laughter echoes. Adil, laughing. You always trip over your own excitement. Sarah, better than dragging my feet like you. They collapse into the sand, tangled in each other. Adil brushes hair from her face and kisses her gently. Narrator, VO. It was in these small moments, unplanned, unguarded, that their love had once flourished. Flashback. Int. Apartment. First night after wedding. The apartment is modest but filled with warmth. Boxes everywhere. They sit on the floor, eating takeout by candlelight. Sarah. This isn't what I pictured for our first dinner as husband and wife. Adil. Are you kidding? Nothing's more romantic than Chinese food on cardboard. She laughs, resting her head on his shoulder. He holds her close. Adil. We'll make this place a home, together. Flashback, int. Hospital room. Night. Sarah holds Adil's hand tightly. He's lying in bed after a minor accident. She's teary but composed. Sarah, don't scare me like that again. Adil, smiling weakly. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me, remember? He kisses her hand. She smiles through tears. Narrator, VO. She believed him, with her whole heart. Back then, forever still felt possible. Back to present, int, bedroom. Sarah wipes a tear and closes the album. She looks around the room, the same room they once filled with laughter, now echoing with silence. She opens the drawer and pulls out a letter. Old, creased. Adil's handwriting. She reads it silently. Adil, V.O., from the letter. You're my anchor, my calm in the storm. I promise to never take you for granted. I'll love you every day, in every season. Sarah clutches the letter to her chest, then slowly lowers it. Her face hardens slightly. Narrator, V.O. Memories don't lie, but sometimes they deceive. They show us what was, not what is. She gets up, walks to the window, and stares out into the quiet night. Narrator, V.O. That love still lived somewhere in her heart, but it no longer belonged to the man who had forgotten how to hold it. Fade out. Seeking answers, focused on Sarah's search for understanding, blending quiet reflection and external conversations. Int. Cafe, afternoon. Sarah sits across from her best friend, Nita, in a cozy corner. A half-drunk cappuccino sits untouched in front of her. She stares out the window, lost in thought. Nita, you don't have to explain anything to me, but I'm here. Say it if you need to. Sarah exhales slowly. Sarah, I just keep wondering when it happened. When did we stop being us? Was I blind or just hopeful? Nita, you were trusting. There's a difference. Sarah swallows hard. Sarah, I used to believe love was enough, that if I gave it fully, it would come back the same way. Nita, sometimes it does, and sometimes people break under their own emptiness, not because you failed. Int. Sarah's car, parked outside her old university. Sarah watches students laugh and walk by, free and full of dreams. She sits silently, lost in memory. Flashback, ext, campus, years ago. A younger Sarah and Adil sit on a bench, sharing a sandwich and making future plans. Adil one day will tell our kids this is where it all started. Sarah, only if you let them know I did most of the talking. Adil, chuckling. Deal. Back to present, int. Car. Sarah's expression is calm, but her eyes betray a deep ache. Narrator, V.O. She kept replaying the past like a film with no ending, hoping to spot the frame where love began to fade. Inticon therapist's office. Evening. Sarah sits across from a quiet, empathetic female therapist. Tissues are neatly stacked nearby. Sarah speaks softly, thoughtfully. Sarah. He wasn't cruel, that's the hardest part. He was kind. Tired, maybe. Distracted. But not evil. So how did I end up feeling like I was the only one standing in the marriage? Therapist. Sometimes pain isn't loud. It seeps in like fog, and you only realize you're lost when you can't see anything clearly anymore. Sarah nods slowly, her voice almost a whisper. Sarah. I kept giving, hoping he'd see me, and when he didn't, I gave more, until there was nothing left of me to offer. Inti, kitchen, night. Sarah writes in a notebook. Her voice echoes in narration. Soft piano music plays underneath. Sarah, V.O. Maybe it's not about blaming him or blaming myself. Maybe love dies when one person stops watering it, and the other keeps waiting for rain that never comes. Inta. Bedroom. Later. Sarah looks at herself in the mirror, no longer the version who blindly waited, but someone slowly waking up. She runs a hand through her hair, breathing deeply. Narrator, V.O. She wasn't searching for someone to fix her anymore. She was searching for herself, buried under years of compromise, silence, and waiting. Fade out. The final straw, a pivotal moment where everything shifts, and it becomes clear that the marriage is beyond repair. Int. Living room. Night. The house is dark, except for the soft light from the TV. Sarah is sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine, but her attention is elsewhere. She checks the clock. It's past midnight. Adil still isn't home. She picks up her phone and dials his number. It rings once, twice, then voicemail. Sarah, softly into the phone. Adil, where are you? She hangs up and exhales, her eyes filled with exhaustion. She stares at the screen for a long moment before sending a text. I need you to come home. Please. She sets the phone down, waiting. The camera lingers on her face as the minutes tick by. Nothing. The front door finally opens with a soft creak. Adil walks in, his coat still on, his face tense and distracted. Sarah, sitting up. You're late. Adil, avoiding her gaze. Work ran over. I told you, Sarah. You didn't tell me anything. You didn't even call, not once. You didn't even bother to let me know you were fine. Adil rubs his face, exhausted. Adil sighs. Sarah, please, not tonight. I'm too tired for this. Sarah, voice shaking. Tired. Adil, I've been sitting here for hours waiting, wondering if I was going to have to spend another night alone, and you don't even care enough to check in. Adil stays quiet for a moment, his frustration building. Adil, I don't need this right now. Can't you just let it go? I'm not in the mood to talk about this. Sarah stands, her heart pounding. She steps closer to him, her voice trembling with a mixture of pain and anger. Sarah, you've been saying that for months. You've been saying you're too tired, too busy, too whatever. I don't care about your excuses anymore, Adil. I need you. I needed you months ago, and you weren't there. He clenches his jaw, looking away. His silence speaks volumes. Sarah, softly, what happened to us? Adil looks at her for a long moment, and then the truth comes out in a breathless confession. Adil, quietly, I don't know, but I can't keep pretending. The words hit Sarah like a slap. She steps back, her face a mixture of shock and disbelief. For a moment, she doesn't know what to say. The realization finally sinks in. This is the end. Sarah, whispering, You've been pretending this whole time? Adele's eyes shift, guilt heavy in them. He doesn't know how to fix this. He didn't even know how to start anymore. Adil, I tried. But somewhere along the way, I stopped trying. I couldn't even find myself anymore, let alone us. Sarah's chest tightens, and she suddenly feels all the weight of the years she'd spent holding on to something that was already slipping through her fingers. Sarah and I kept holding on, believing you'd come back, but you've already checked out, haven't you? Adil doesn't answer. The silence that follows is deafening. Sarah stares at him, her eyes beginning to fill with tears that she doesn't let fall. Narrator VO. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't a single word or action that ended it all. It was the quiet moments in between, the absence of effort, the slow erosion of trust. But this was the finality she had been afraid of, and the freedom she didn't yet know she needed. Sarah turns away, walking toward the door. Adil watches her, frozen. She stops at the doorway, her back still to him. Sarah, slowly, I can't keep doing this anymore. I deserve more than this, than you. Without waiting for a response, she leaves the room, the sound of her footsteps fading away. Fade out. Letting go. An emotional and symbolic moment of acceptance. Interior living room. Day. The morning light filters softly through the windows. Sarah stands by the window, looking out at the street below, her expression distant. She holds the key to their shared apartment in her hand, turning it over slowly, her fingers tracing the grooves on the metal. Narrator, VO. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was letting go of everything that once felt like home, of believing that the love that once held them together could somehow survive the spaces between them. Sarah glances at the pictures on the wall, their wedding photo, a candid shot from a vacation, their smiling faces frozen in moments she now feels far removed from. She walks slowly towards them, her eyes lingering on each one. Her hand hovers over the frame with their wedding picture. She exhales deeply, and then gently takes it off the wall. She stands there for a moment, holding it, but then places it on the side table. Her hands shake slightly, but she doesn't stop. Kitchen. Later. Sarah packs a small box with Adil's things, a few of his favorite books, a tie he left behind, his coffee mug. She moves methodically, with a calmness that feels almost detached from the emotions surging underneath. Her actions are purposeful, a quiet resolution taking shape with every movement. The camera lingers on a photograph in the kitchen, one of them in their early years, laughing over a shared meal. Sarah looks at it for a moment, then places it gently into the box. Sarah, VO. I spent so much time waiting for things to change. But some things, they don't change. And when you finally stop waiting, you begin to see it clearly. The only way forward is through the hurt. Tea, bedroom, night. Sarah stands in the middle of the room. It's now empty, the bed stripped, the clothes packed. Only the faint scent of his cologne lingers. She breathes in deeply, as if breathing in the last traces of what once was. She picks up a book from the nightstand, Adil's favorite novel. She opens it to the first page and reads the inscription inside. For the love of my life, now and always. Her fingers linger on the words for a moment, and then she closes the book, setting it gently down. She reaches for her own belongings, neatly folding the last of her things into a bag. The apartment feels eerily quiet, like the final scene of a story she never wanted to end. Narrator, VO. Letting go didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean erasing the love, the memories, or the pain. It meant accepting that the love they had was no longer enough, and that sometimes letting go was the most honest thing you could do for yourself. XT. Apartment building. Night. Sarah stands outside, holding the box. The cool night air brushes against her face. She looks at the building one last time. The weight of it all sinks in, but there is no turning back now. She takes a deep breath and steps forward. As she walks away, the camera pulls back, capturing her silhouette as she walks down the street, the lights of the city blurring behind her. Narrator, VO. The hardest thing about leaving wasn't saying goodbye to him. It was saying goodbye to the dream she once held so tightly, the one that kept her tethered, hoping for a return to something that no longer existed. XT. Park. Day, flashback. A final flashback. Sarah and Adil walking hand in hand through a park. The sunlight filters through the trees and everything seems perfect. The sound of birds, the rustling leaves, and the quiet peace between them. The scene is bright, full of life. Narrator, VO. But dreams fade. And what was once beautiful becomes another chapter of who they were and who they needed to become. Back to present, Ext, street. Sarah walks down the street alone, but there is a subtle shift in her step, her pace steadier now, her face softer. She doesn't look back at the apartment. The camera pulls upward, showing the city ahead, vast, open, and full of possibilities. Narrator, VO. It wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of something new. The screen fades to black, leaving the soft sound of Sarah's footsteps as the final note. Newfound strength. A turning point where Sarah begins to reclaim her life and make decisions for herself. Coffee shop. Morning. Sarah sits at a corner table, a fresh cup of coffee in front of her. She flips through a magazine absent-mindedly, her mind elsewhere. Her phone buzzes. It's a message from Nita. Are you okay? Sarah smiles slightly at the message and types back, I'm better. I think I'm finally starting to be okay. She puts the phone down and looks around. The bustle of the coffee shop feels different today. Alive, full of energy. She feels a quiet shift inside herself. She feels free. Gym. Day. Sarah jogs on the treadmill, the rhythmic sound of her feet pounding against the belt mirrors the steady pulse of her heart. Strong, determined. Sweat glistens on her forehead, but there's a new fire in her eyes. The camera lingers on her focused expression. She pushes herself a little faster, a little harder. The old Sarah, who had put everything aside for someone else, is gone. This Sarah is reclaiming control. Narrator, VO. She wasn't just finding her body again, she was finding herself. The woman who had once feared being alone now found solace in her own company. The woman who had waited for someone else to define her now made her own choices. XT. Art Gallery. Night. Sarah enters the art gallery, her eyes wide with wonder. She's there alone, and for the first time in a long while, it feels good. She moves through the exhibit with a sense of purpose, her steps light. She stops in front of a painting, an abstract work with vibrant colors. She stares at it, captivated. The gallery attendant notices her interest and approaches. Attendant, it's one of my favorites. The colors really seem to speak to you, don't they? Sarah, softly with a small smile. Yes, it's like it's telling a story I haven't heard before. Attendant. A story of hope, maybe. It's all about finding the beauty in the chaos. Sarah nods, her eyes lingering on the painting. There's something in the chaos, something she hadn't seen before. Something that resonates deeply. Sarah, VO. Maybe this was the story she was meant to find, one where she learned to embrace the chaos of life and make it her own. NT. Sarah's apartment, evening. The apartment is quiet, still a little empty, but with more of Sarah's presence in it now. She's unpacking boxes, sorting through clothes. A small plant sits on the windowsill, a gift from Nita. The place is beginning to feel like hers, not shared, not a place of waiting, a space of ownership. Sarah pulls out a photo album from the shelf. She flips through the pages, stopping at the pictures of her and Adil. She runs her fingers over them, then gently closes the album. She doesn't look back at them again. Instead, she moves the album to the back of the shelf. Narrator, VO. Letting go wasn't just about the end of a marriage. It was about the rebirth of who she was without him, not as someone's wife, not as someone's shadow, but as her own person. NT. Bookstore. Day. Sarah walks into a local bookstore, the smell of fresh paper and coffee mingling in the air. She picks up a book, a self-help guide to rediscovering yourself. It's simple, but for the first time, it feels like it's meant for her. She flips it open, finding inspiration in the pages. Sarah heads to the counter, and as she pays, the cashier smiles at her warmly. Cashier looks like a good one. Sarah, smiling. I think so. I'm finally ready to read it. The cashier nods approvingly. Sarah leaves the store, the book in her hands, a subtle symbol of her commitment to herself. XT Park, evening. Sarah walks through the park as the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the path. She takes a deep breath of the fresh air, savoring the feeling of liberation. Narrator VO. For the first time in a long while, Sarah was no longer waiting for someone else to show up and change her life. She was changing it for herself. The pieces were finally coming together, not in the way she had once imagined, but in a way that felt true. She pauses, glancing up at the sky, where the first stars begin to twinkle. A soft smile forms on her lips. SARAVO. This is my life now, and I'm going to live it fully. For me. The camera lingers on her face, capturing the quiet strength and peace she's found within herself. Moving on, a symbolic and literal moment where Sarah walks away from her past and steps forward into a new chapter of her life. EXT. City streets, morning. The streets are bustling with activity. People rush by, immersed in their own worlds. Sarah walks alone, a light breeze tugging at her hair. She's dressed in a smart, casual outfit. Confident, at ease. The camera follows her from behind as she moves with purpose, the city unfolding before her. Narrator, VO. Some journeys don't have clear destinations. Some roads stretch on with no promise of certainty, but only of possibilities. It's the moment we decide to step forward that the world begins to feel ours again. Sarah pauses at a crosswalk. She glances around, at the people, the cars, the city that is as alive as she feels. Her phone buzzes in her pocket, and she takes it out, seeing a message from Adil. "Can we talk?" Her finger hovers over the screen, but then she stops. The hesitation is brief, and she decides to leave the message unanswered. Her thumb swipes the screen, dismissing it, and she places the phone back into her bag without a second thought. XT. Park, later. Sarah walks through a park. The sun is higher in the sky now, casting a warm glow over everything. She watches a group of children play, their laughter filling the air. She smiles softly at the sight, but there's no trace of longing in her expression, only quiet peace. She walks along the path, her steps steady, each one a declaration of her own newfound strength. Her gaze drifts upward to the towering trees overhead, the leaves shifting in the breeze. It's a reminder of growth, the same kind she's experiencing within herself. Narrator, V.O. The hardest part wasn't leaving him. It was realizing that she had never really left herself. She had always been here, waiting for the right moment to step into her own life again. XT. Doorway. Sarah's new apartment, evening. Sarah stands at the threshold of her new apartment. She holds the door open, gazing out over the street below. Her hand rests on the doorframe, and there's a sense of finality in the air. Behind her, the apartment is simple, calm, and freshly unpacked, a reflection of the space she's carved for herself. She takes a deep breath, the weight of the past lingering but not controlling her. With one last look at the street outside, she steps inside, the door closing softly behind her. Into apartment. Night. The apartment is quiet. Sarah sits on the couch with a book in her hands, the soft light of the table lamp casting a warm glow over the room. The sounds of the city fade into the background. She opens the book, settling into the pages. The camera lingers on her, showing a peaceful smile on her face. Narrator, V.O. There were no more questions, no more waiting. Sarah was no longer the woman tethered to someone else's broken promises. She was free, free to love herself, to heal, to create a future that was hers alone. XT. City Street. Night. Sarah walks down the street, the world around her moving, the lights of the city flickering like stars. She walks without hesitation, without looking back. Each step is a small victory, a reclaiming of her life. There's a quiet confidence in the way she moves, a woman who has learned how to stand on her own again. Narrator, V.O. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was hers, and for the first time in a long time, she was walking it without fear, without regret, only with the promise of what lay ahead. The camera pulls back as Sarah walks into the night, her silhouette fading into the distance. The sound of the city pulses, a rhythmic, steady beat, a reminder that life moves forward, no matter the weight of the past. Fade out.